Before we begin today's conversation, we want to acknowledge that we'll be discussing topics related to sexual and reproductive health, mental well-being, and personal experiences that may be sensitive for some viewers. Our goal is to create a safe and open space for discussion, but we understand that these topics can be triggering or emotionally challenging. If you find any of our content distressing, we encourage you to seek support from a trusted friend, family member, or professional, or you can reach out to our Bex's chatbot. Viewer discretion is advised. Up next on DiCHiPi UNFiLTERED.
So, thank you. You validated us. You quoted us.
Much.
Now we're going to ask ourselves, do money? What's that?
You know,
Period. I had failed at so many things in my life and had to fight and claw my way back up to the top, that really when I sat down and I read everything that she had sent me about JiK'iZiNTO and what the initiative aims to do in our country.
It's not just about, the production, like it's a full-on production.
Yes.
For the mere fact that we get to travel and engage with people and do like community engagements and do activations. We have a podcast now. It's beautiful.
When we are home, we are told, study this, be great, and do that.
Yeah.
So if you try to do something else, besides the fact that you're already doubting yourself, everyone else is doubting you.
True.
You want to be a DJ. To do what? And then
Welcome to another episode of DiCHiPi UNFiLTERED by JiK'iZiNTO. My name is Moagi, and it's an absolute pleasure to be hosting you today. But I tell you that I'm not alone. I'm co-hosting with someone fabulous who hails all the way from KZN. She's got a degree in live performance from AFDA that she graduated from in 2018. But this woman is not just an actress. She's someone who's trained on screen, in theater, vocally as a singer, as well as physically as a dancer. She's got all the sass and all the attitude. Her name is Azande. She's going to sing probably like 7 times.
No, I will not.
I just want to put it out there.
I will
It's
not.
likely to happen. Miss
How
Ma'am,
you doing?
it's such a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this moment because
Listen.
I heard that you've done productions in Angola,
Yes,
Nigeria,
well.
L'Oreal, and L'Oreal can go Paris. So technically, you know Paris. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I'm in the presence of royalty.
Oh my God! Stop it! I
And
like it.
Stop it. Love it. Love it. How has your journey been as an actress? Because 2018 is a very long time to be an actress.
Man, it's been crazy. Honestly, it's been a roller coaster. It hasn't been easy. I always say that I graduated. Well, I did my 3rd year in 2017, and I only got my first TV debut like last year.
Oh, wild.
2024. I know.
That's crazy.
I know,
That's
right?
6 years.
Well, yeah, 7. Now it's 8.
Okay, we are not
Now it's
engineers.
8. No.
He's
Now
not-
it's 8.
Huh?
It's 8. We're in 2025.
But it was last year, ma'am.
Wait.
Okay, shout.
2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 20. What was it? You see? 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Now it's 8 years.
Okay, sorry, it's me. I don't know how to count. I'm just a girl. I'm just a baby.
It's okay, Vala,
but
don't
that's a very
stress.
long time to wait to see your dreams come to
Yeah.
life.
So like it wasn't easy at all. It was like a really difficult journey. I've been knocked down so many times. I failed so many times, but I never let that get me down. I just used that to just get myself back up. And look at where we are
And
now.
this
We
is
are
why-
DiCHiPi rising.
This is why you
Izinto
were cast as
zijikile.
Mkhungo. This is why you were cast. So I'm taking it DiCHiPi was your first TV debut.
No,
It wasn't?
actually, Spongile and the Dlamini's was my first
Okay.
TV debut. Yeah.
And when did that happen?
Last year.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you did 2 in 1 year.
I
so
know,
you got the
right?
first one, then you said
And then-
second. Now you're just not stopping. The ball is rolling and it's going.
I know.
I think for me though, what stands out for me in your career is obviously your participation in the whole DiCHiPi by
Yes,
JiK'iZiNTO thing,
yes,
because
yeah.
this is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. They mustn't cancel me for saying this, but I feel like this is 2025's version of Soul Buddies. I don't know if you
Yes.
remember Soul Buddies,
Yes,
but it was
yes,
a
of
show
course,
that was
yeah.
made to educate the youth and kind of help give factual information about issues that we face from a day-to-day basis. But obviously those things came and went, and there was no one to kind of pick up the
Yes,
baton.
yeah.
And so I really love what Girl Effect is doing with JiK'iZiNTO because
Yeah.
it's a tangible representation of what your dreams me.
You know, and
what
we
they can
really
be.
need it, you know, and I always say that it's such a blessing to be a part of this journey, you know, and what I appreciate about JiK'iZiNTO is that it's not just about, you know, the production, like it's a full-on production,
Yes.
you know, for the mere fact that we get to travel and engage with people and do like community engagements and do activations. We have a podcast now. It's beautiful, you know, and there's Big Sis as well, you know, to be there for you if you need assistance with whether it's mental health, career guidances, you know, whatever it is. So it's not just about the TV, the production as in TV, but like it reaches out in terms of really putting into action,
Touching the
you
people
know,
on
touching
the
the people,
ground.
and not just talking about it,
Yes.
it's the doing as well. Because even
Yes.
on set, you know, we have something called like safeguarding. Like if you're unhappy about something, like they are there to say, like, you know, I appreciate that so much.
We're not just talking about it,
Yeah,
but we're
we are
making sure it's a
doing.
part of every single
Yes,
element,
yeah.
which is beautiful. But I think we are talking about something we love, but people
Yes.
probably don't know about it.
Yep.
So let's have a quick look at the Jiki Festo to find out more about JiK'iZiNTO.
There's something undeniable about us in this moment. That pulsing energy the whole world can't help but watch. You feed it. How we're shifting the way things have been, creating a new narrative. Even when go tricky, go tanks, we're finding gaps. Going from all the go-wishing, no matter where you're from. One thing about us, we'll be unapologetic about how we express ourselves. We'll move like the aim is not to sweat, whether it's to piano or more at Vogue nights. Yeah, ne? What we do is elevated, never emulated. We sew our culture into design, use fabric to show how we thrive. Have drip that's gone international. Slightly D-skip it, we've made groove a sport of its own. Can shoot our shot, make a viral moment life-changing. Can be the pretty girl from Joburg that wins a Grammy. Can be architects of a new South. Can know that even sitting at home, there's all this potential waiting to be unlocked. Even when life's not made sure. No matter the odds, people will stop sleeping on you. You'll stop sleeping on you long enough to rewrite your reality. So, show it's our time. Our time to shine. Our time to be generation starters. Our time to say things with our chest. Our time to JiK'iZiNTO.
I don't know if you saw me in that clip.
I did, girl.
I was there with my little bob and my pink pants. And I still remember that experience like it was yesterday. I remember video calling my mom and my friends and saying, like, guys, look where I am. Look what's going on. And look what I get to be a part of. Remember when I got the call from the lady who was running the entire filming process of the JiK'iZiNTO Jiki Festo.
Yes.
She called me and she was like, hey, we've got this initiative where we're looking to mentor young girls in the country, and we want you to kind of be one of the mentors on the program by sharing your story, because we think your story is quite an incredible one. And I think similar to you, I had failed at so many things in my life and had to fight and claw my way back up to the top, that really when I sat down and I read everything that she had sent me about JiK'iZiNTO and what the initiative aims to do in our country, I have never felt more aligned to something. I've never felt more in purpose when working with an organization or a brand, because usually it's like, here we've got a product, can you show it? But very rarely is it something that you breathe and live and is deeply integrated into your life. So that was really cool for me. I don't know if there's anything about the Jiki Festo that stands out for
I
you.
definitely feel the same. You know, that as I was saying earlier, that it's such a blessing to be a part of it, because they really put in the effort into really going all out. You know, like even when I look at myself on the Jiki website and I see what I was talking about in one of my interviews, I'm like, oh my God, that could inspire someone.
That could inspire me 10 years ago.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
And we need that. Like, in Jaya Manje needs that. You know, we need things that we can go back and look at and reference. And, you know, because some people, it's not all of us that has anyone in, people in our lives to talk to. So, like, what JiK'iZiNTO is doing is really beautiful.
And I just want to put a shameless plug out there. You can also be a part of the JiK'iVERSE. You just have to go to www.jiki.co.za to check it out. It's not just something that we get to be blessed by, but it's definitely something that you can also be a part of. But obviously, the whole point of this podcast, DiCHiPi UNFiLTERED, is to get into the unfiltered version of everything that your character on screen goes through. And your character, obviously, very similar to you, go-getter, big dreams,
Yes.
big attitude to match the big dreams.
Yeah.
And she goes through so many struggles in terms of just focusing on one business, first of all, like, hey, that baby, she's touching here, there, everywhere. But even in her trying to find focus, I think she recognizes that I need help in tailoring this and making the path straight.
Yeah.
So she seeks out a mentor. But even
Yeah.
that journey starts taking her here, there,
Do you know
up,
what I
down.
mean?
And then she's got a mother, she's got a
Oh,
father, she's
my
got so many
God.
different things as the series unpacks and unfolds
Yeah.
that we get to learn about her. And I think I want us to look at some highlights of who she
Yeah.
is, what her life looks like, and then come back and unpack what we are here to talk about today, which is mentorship.
Yes.
Right.
I'm not sure if you've noticed or not, but I always listen to you, Mkhungo, Sanderson. And then kwenzakalani manje?
Ngicabanga ukuthi kumele ngiyophumula kancane. Angikhathele ngizobona kusasa station.
Umhlolo wami ke lo. Mpumi. Yindlela esisebenza ngayo le ku-entertainment industry.
Makuyona ndlela enisebenza ngayo ke lena angifuni ngiyabonga. Ngizobona ukuthi ngenze njani.
Itiye engiliphathelele lona namhlanje lishisa bhe.
Guys, mangitshela ukuthi usisweni lo. Did I not get involved in a predicament, Izolo?
Yazi guys, I had to make the toughest decision of my life. It's either I have to take the shadiest road or the high road.
So, nginikeze nje context kancane.
There's this whole ass malume engeke ngize ngimbize ngegama. So to Mr. R kwamanje. Again, I know Mr. R proposed ukuthi ufuna ukulala nami in exchange to help me with my career. Ayibo, isibindi sabhuti. Hey, angikholwanga. And then on top of that he had to say,
This is how the industry works. Oyibo, normalizing nonsense, nahana fela.
ay, ngeke nje mina. But nje long story short, guys, you know I refused. Ngiyangazi ukuthi mina njani. But nje angifuna uqamba amanga, I'm upset.
But this is how things are done in Mzansi.
Imagine, oh my God, watching that back, I'm just getting a bit emotional.
No, because Nanzama tissue. I have kept these tissues here because I really want us to dig into
are ready.
all of these stories.
You
If you
know-
cry, ma'am, cry. That's what we want.
We'll cry
The more tears, the
together.
more views. I get it.
You know, like it's just touching because you know these are things that happen out there
In real life.
You know, like as Inja, you know, it's so hard to like get into like just after high school, you're still trying to like grapple with the fact that how do I get into varsity? How do I get into like work? You know, you don't know these things, and then you get people like Ronald. You know, that use that vulnerability. You know what I mean? So I'm saying like there's a Mpume out there, and I'm just like, oh my God. It's so sad. It really is sad. And all you want to do is just work hard and do it honestly. You know,
Yes.
now you have to just work 10 times harder because there are people that have ulterior motives, you know?
And I think before we even get into this conversation, it's very important to preface that there are mentors out there that don't expect you to do things like that. That's not a normal thing. That's not something you should accept. And yes, even though someone has probably given you so much in your career that it makes you feel like, yo, I could never be able to repay that person.
Yeah.
It should never be a repayment that takes from your
Yes,
soul and
yes,
that
yes.
diminishes you as a
Yeah.
person. Do
Yeah.
you have a mentor in real life that is a real one, not a fake
Not
one?
a- well,
'Cause that's a fake
yes,
one right there.
yes, I do. I mean, he used to be my mentor, not anymore. But like, yeah, you know, and he was genuine. Oh my God, you know, like he taught me a lot about like what I know to
And I
date.
like what he-
you know, exactly, you know, because there are some good he's out there, you know. So he really had a beautiful impact in my career. Like I'm not gonna lie, but he was more of like a production behind the scene because you know I do on screen and behind the scene. So he was more of like a behind the scenes mentor. Like all of my behind the scenes experience, he had a huge impact on. You know, I got to travel through him. Like some of the things that I use in production to date is because I was taught by him. You know, and yeah. So they are. And what's sad is that like there are people like Ronald out there, but they make it bad for the good people, the good mentors out there. Because now we are saba. You don't know who to trust anymore. You don't know how to go about like you know that whole journey. So
And
yeah.
there's something you said that I just want to pick on because I think it's so important for people who are looking for mentors to
Yeah.
really pay attention to what you said when you say that this guy wasn't really a direct mentor,
Yeah.
but was someone on set who was working in production that
Yes.
kind of helped you
Yeah.
and led and guided you. And I think of
Yeah.
myself when I was doing community radio at Tax FM.
Yeah.
There was a guy who was there as a technical sound producer. Like his job is just to make sure that the levels on radio are great and good,
Yeah.
and that clips are cut when we have promos and jingles, they're all done. That's his job. He has nothing to do with talent and telling us what to do. But this man would come to me and say, hey, I think you've got a great voice. Can you do this voiceover for this and this? And he taught me how to be a voiceover artist. So I
Yeah.
learned that through him. But it's because when you work in a space where you're able to respect all
Yes.
people, whether
Yes.
they seem like the important person who can
Yeah.
be your mentor because they are powerful,
Yeah.
or just the guy behind the scenes doing the sound, that same person, no matter how small you think they are, has something to offer to you. And I think we need to not de-glamorize mentorship, but we need to de-glamorize looking for the most important looking person in an
Yeah, true.
organization.
'Cause you never know where you can
'Cause
find
you never
them.
know where
You
you can
never
find a
know.
mentor.
Yeah, true.
And I'm excited because today
Me too. I really like. I can't hold myself.
but I've been following this lady on Instagram for some time.
God.
Just watching.
my
She is
God.
such a powerhouse. And I think even though she isn't necessarily a direct mentor, by virtue of the fact that she posts Instagram posts and does TikToks and does YouTube videos that are long form, I think there's so much that you can grab from her as an online mentor. But today, we are not going to grab from her online because she's going to be right here in person
Hells
in
no.
studio. So let's call the queen. Her name is Michelle Lima, and she's been featured on BBC as well as CNN. She also was part of YouTube Black 2022 and had a billboard in California.
Hi there, my name is Michelle JiK'iVERSE and I'm a global business strategist.
The royalty has stepped into the building, and I'm talking about the queen of global business strategy. Her name is Michelle Lima, and she's been featured on BBC as well as CNN. She also was part of YouTube Black 2022 and had a billboard in California. When have you ever had a billboard in California? I don't think so. But Michelle is someone who was anointed for business, as she says, and has got a book out and is an author of the CEO Blueprint that helps young entrepreneurs and old entrepreneurs, just entrepreneurs in general.
Everybody, if you're trying to make money,
if you're trying to make
come to
money,
me.
get into action and get that money, honey. So welcome, Queen Michelle.
Thank you, ladies. Such a warm welcome.
Can I just say,
Yeah?
beautiful.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Let her stand up and do the Naomi Campbell walk. Like, feel it. I asked her before the episode started, is your surname Dima, like the Sesotho
Or-
L for D, or
Yes.
is it Lima? And she was
Yeah.
like, Lima. And I was like, I know that's right.
Exactly.
She's probably related to Adriana Lima. It's
Google
giving
me.
Victoria's Secret.
You know what I mean?
But
and the body, the posture, do you get me?
the
Like,
T is T. Do you understand what I'm saying? So look, it's our honor. It's our privilege.
Some flattery here.
And you're our first guest on
I'm
the
gonna
show.
come back.
By the way. So
Really?
yeah, you are giving us beauty.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
You are truly giving us
I
true
am the
beauty.
queen of first, so the standard is very high.
And you know what? Here at
Just
JiK'iZiNTO,
so
come
you know.
on,
we really do celebrate first. First is
Yeah.
something that we are big on. I think for a
Absolutely.
lot of us, we did a web series a couple of months
Yeah.
ago. Well, not months ago, at the launch of the entire organization.
Yeah.
And it was called Be the First. And so they profiled different stories, which I was part of. Sorry, just want to put that out there. Where we had to share stories of what we were the first in our family's generation to kind of do.
Yeah.
So it really is cool that you're here and you're doing this. And you know what
Really
my favorite
excited.
part is?
Yeah.
My favorite part of you being here is, I don't think many people know this, but your Instagram was hacked a while ago. Was it a year ago?
Almost 2 years ago.
2 years
Yeah,
ago.
really? Almost,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then she started from
Like a year.
zero
Oh,
year and a half
again.
now.
no.
And she's built it to 24,000 followers
Come
in just 2
on.
years.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Scary business.
It's giving superstar. It's giving superstar, but it's also giving the perfect person for the conversation,
Oh,
because
thank you.
Mpume is one character that really goes through ebbs and flows. She
Yo.
fails,
Yeah.
she tries again.
I don't know
I'm
how
sure
many
you
times
saw.
Mpume has
If
had
you
to start
I'm a
again.
coach.
would just grab
Call
her.
me inside. Let me talk to her.
What are your first impressions of the character?
Lacking a sense of self.
She said, you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
That got deep very
and,
quickly.
and I'll tell you why. I see so many young people like that, where they are like, and it's so funny because when somebody is there, it's not like they are destructive. they're at a point where they're about to find their true selves. So you're like, TD Jakes calls it, you're at the precipice of greatness. But that's where everything is so loud, and the job that you're doing now is frustrating you. Like everything is annoying, things are going wrong. But because there's no center of self, there's no direction.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I want to
That
know
is
from you,
deep,
because that's a
actually.
very deep observation to make, and I feel like you can only make an observation like that if you've been in those shoes yourself. So when in your career, because it's very glamorous and shiny now, but I'm pretty sure there was a point where you didn't have a sense of self. When did you come into yourself?
Sure. So I think, I don't want to say I've always had a
I
great
hope
sense
Beyonce.
of self. La lela, la lela, la lela. But I want to say, you know, and maybe let's bring it to the context of the show and the context of the African black young woman.
Go there.
Right? And it's the sense that when we are home, we are told, study this, be great, and do that. So if you try to do something else, besides the fact that you're already doubting yourself, everyone else is doubting you.
True.
You want to be a DJ.
To do what?
And then like who?
But her mom is someone who does that.
You know?
As you see her character development, her mother goes and says, Mara King,
You want to be a DJ.
go and work.
Yeah, because we are black people who've just come out of apartheid, and we are trying to play catch up quickly. And catch up quickly says, if you can just do 4 years in an institution, you'll get a salary, you'll build this house, and you do that. And we haven't had, and I think now we are coming out to have, but we haven't had careers that we've seen boom from the passions that other people have, right? And even if they are there, they are still so few that we look and we're like, "Ofun about JiK'iZiNTO." Do you know that JiK'iZiNTO celebrating 20 years now? Where's the whole family going to be in 20 years while you're still building your own career, you know? So I think circling back to the question, my thing has always been, I always knew, I was doing this personality test for therapy today, and it said something about always knowing that you're meant for greatness. And I think everybody has that sense. Like when you grow up, you have the feeling that, like, I'm different, man. You know, and then along the way, life just kills it. But purpose demands to be heard. It comes back at some point. And for me, my biggest point was, I was being headhunted for great, amazing jobs. Being the youngest woman in the room, the youngest manager in a big corporate, buying the car, but I was so unhappy.
Deep.
I was miserable. Like, I remember, oh my gosh, initially I thought it was this one job I'd gotten, which at that time was a job I was praying for. And then I received it, and I think a year or so later, I was like, this is so mundane. I love the career, but I don't like the job. So fine, I get headhunted to another job that pays way more than I was earning. I go in and I'm like, great, new job. A few months in again, the feeling comes back. And because the feeling comes back, I'm so unfulfilled. The friendships around me are also starting to teka. The relationships at that time are also starting, because there's no center of self. Everything in me just is not. I left that job, went to the last job I eventually worked. And I remember my boss at the time saying to me, I've got a feeling you're not going to be here for long. You are very entrepreneurial, and I like your spirit, but you just need to learn how to cultivate it. And I think that for me planted the seed to wanting to do something better for myself. So as a Christian girl, we were getting into a new year, and I was saying to God, I mean, come on. I feel like I'm going through the same cycle every year. And it's not long about money, it's not long about achievement. I think I'm done with the applause of other people, but it's about what I want for myself. And moving forward, I went on a 30-day fast. And right after I went on that 30-day fast, I really felt the call to leave and take the leap and just spend time on figuring out what I need to do. I mean, don't do what I did. I was led by the Lord, and when the Lord leads, He never leaves you hungry, you know?
You go.
Yeah, so I left. I had no savings or anything. And I remember I resigned. And when I resigned at my job, I think I served like a week or a few days' notice. And my boss was like, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, wow.
Because he could also feel, he was like, I'm so proud of you. Go ahead and do it. And then after that, I just spent some time trying to get to know, like, what is it, and trying to connect the dots. But to the point of being able to have that sense of self for yourself, I think it's all about figuring out what's calling you. You know, DJ is not what's calling you. The sense of self is what's calling you, and DJ is an expression of self. And I think a lot of people can be attached to the career, to the platform, to the thing. Because over time you'll be a DJ now, but you then will be a business person later. Or you will open a DJ school. We don't know what life looks like.
Yeah. And would you say that that boss was a mentor to you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, he mentored me even way after that. He availed the office that I used to work in at the time for my business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He literally...
That's a man
That
right
is
there.
beautiful. that is so different,
Yeah.
you know, because you know when you have a boss, like they never want you to leave or like
Yeah.
come to terms with
Yes.
your potential, you know, they just
Yeah.
want to box you. So that's very beautiful and
But
commendable.
it also talks about the power of relationships, right?
Yeah.
Even if I was going through this, I walked in there with a servitude spirit.
Yeah.
And he could see that with all the jobs I walked into, I was there to serve.
To give.
So, so no matter what I was going through, I still showed up for the business. I still showed up for him. And he managed to see all of those little cracks, but still see me doing the work. And when you become a person of value to other people, they want to become a person of value to you.
That's so good.
Regardless of whether you're going or you're coming or you're staying,
Yes,
they just want to be. I mean, he even then at the time gave me like an iPad, and he's like, I know you've got a laptop. Here's an iPad, because he lives in London, but he's originally from Nigeria.
Yeah.
So he's got like a British Nigerian. Do you know? There's the fine line between the two.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, young lady, I know you just want to be speaking everywhere. You know, but here's, and he gave me this iPad, and it's like, you can write all your notes, you can get books, and you can read. And I appreciated that so much.
That
He
is so
carried me.
beautiful, you know, because especially you mentioned that he's a man as well,
Yeah.
looking at Umpume.
Yeah.
She was looking for mentorship from Ronald,
Yeah.
who had other motives, you know, and like it goes to show that there are other good mentors out there,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
all about what you're giving me, you know,
Yeah.
what you're getting from it as well.
Yeah.
So it's really beautiful, you know.
A controversial fact about mentorship, which I really believe is true,
Tell it
is
to us.
no one is willing to mentor you if they're not getting anything in return.
Say it again.
Especially
Say
yes.
it again.
And maybe let me lay the ground floor, right? I say anything in return, and I was having this conversation with someone actually yesterday. And here's the thing: if somebody DMs me and they say, Michelle, I love your work and I want you to mentor me,
Need you.
do you know how busy I am? Where am I going to find the time
Yeah.
to mentor somebody, right? I'm still in my building phase. I'm busy. Same as the person you want. But if somebody comes to me and say, Michelle, I love what you do. I am an executive assistant in the corporate, but I'm working from home. I've got 4 hours through the week to spare, and I would love to give you this service for free, so I can also learn from you and what you do. What is that? A transaction.
Yes.
The other person has mastered how we can transact. But when you go to someone and say, oh, you're so successful people, or truly successful people are busy.
Yeah.
So it has to be a transaction one way or the other, unless they're going to start a foundation because of the goodness of their hearts and their systems and processes. But to get their personal time, there has to be some form of transaction that takes place. So if it's not a transaction of a corporate value or a skill value, it's going to be another transaction.
Which is what Bumi went through.
And
it's so sad because,
unfortunately-
like, you know, we don't know these things,
Yeah.
you know, like there's a young Bumi out there who's really hungry and eager to, you know, or passionate about something. We don't have these things, you know. So who do we go to speak about these things and like to get advice and say, okay, this is what I want to do. How do I go about that?
Yeah.
How would you perhaps...
serve? I also mentioned this, and I said I got quite a great business deal a couple of years ago from somebody that I went to an event and I spotted her, she was a speaker. And after the event, I went to her and I said, I absolutely loved everything that you've said. I love the work that you do and I want to learn from you. Here's what I do. Can I come and be in your office and help you at whatever capacity you want? She said, sure, come through. And some days I'd go there and she'd have nothing for me. And I'd do my own little work and I'd do stuff. And then she got a contract that needed other people to do more work. Who was the next person she gave work to?
Michelle.
Because I was there and I was valuable and I already understood what was happening within there. So you serve. I think when you look at mentorship, don't look at it as, I want this person to give me what they have. You've got something to give. It could be so small. It's like if, for instance, if Mpume wanted somebody to, or that gentleman, and that gentleman is a DJ, say, can I come to your gigs?
Yeah.
Can I come to your gigs, or can I help you mix the sound before you arrive? Do something that shows you of value, because then it makes you worth the other person's time.
Yeah. And I think what I love is that you are showing different kinds of mentors where one person gave you one thing, he gave you a space, he gave you equipment. Another person just gave you their time. They gave you their thoughts. They gave you an insight into how their business works. So what are the different types of mentors that we should be looking out for?
I think the kind of mentor you should be looking out for is the kind of mentor that is servicing the specific need that you have or the needs that you potentially will have.
Yeah.
And this depends within your career, right? I believe that they're like spiritual mentors, and these are people who guide you within your spiritual journey. They are also relationship mentors. If you're married or you're in a long-term relationship, you've got mentors who will walk with you in that. You've got career mentors who are just a sounding board to say, you know, I got approached by this brand and this company and they want to work with me here. What do you think I need to look out for? What do I need to do, etc.? They are those people. And then they are what I call sponsors, or they would be funders.
Yeah.
These are people you know are willing to part ways with money to like help you out. And that mentor of mine, to this day, he always say, if you ever want to start a business and you need money, call me. Because I know that you'll be able to turn that into something. So you've got, I don't talk, literally maybe 6 months will pass and I would not even spoken to them. But the moment I think, oh, there's this and I need to make this move, I'll call them, they'll give me their time, because there's a level of respect, right? So there are those funders, those sponsors. If you're working, there are those people who are always willing to give you a reference or willing to put you up for another position or whatever the case is. And then they could be like family mentors that help you within your family to, you know, guide you within certain conversations. I think those are what I can think of right now. But wherever you are, just always think around. There are people who have already been where you want to go. And they can help you. But they can only help you if you help them where they are as well.
And it's the value conversation that you were talking about. My thing though is, I think we're in a generation where people feel so entitled because I can now access you. I want to just DM and say, Michelle, you've made it here. I'm another black girl. You have to help me out. But the reality of the matter is, you've spent years making it the way that you have. You spent years attaining those skills. You've sown into your thing. There's no way that you're going to transfer that anointing of business that you talk about, or that power to the next person just because they asked. So what are the ways that we can go about showing our value to people that we want to mentor us?
I think ask yourself, what do you have and what can you give? People are under the illusion that if you want mentorship, you've got nothing to give. So it's like, if I had something to give, I wouldn't want a mentor, right? That's the mentality behind it. But the fact that you want a mentor means that there's something, but you want to develop it. So give that thing at the level it's at. You know, if you want to sing, you're like, I want to sing, but I don't know how to do it. Go be a backup singer for somebody. But even if they won't allow you, say, can I just be there when you guys practice? So I can learn, how are you guys practicing? Do you want to work on television? Go behind the scenes and say, can I just like hang, I don't know, I'll carry cables, I'll plug stuff, I'll learn cameras, whatever, you know, but when you come and you're saying, I want to learn, and sometimes just give your time.
True.
You
know, like, your work speaks for itself sometimes. It's just what you were saying about your mentor, the guy who was on set. Sometimes they can see the passion and the drive, and literally that's all it takes sometimes. You know, some people have this mentality that I'm also a big deal. What I don't need to.
Who I am?
Oh my God, who are you? You know, so I think you also need to be willing to work, you know, so that your work can talk for itself.
And that mentality of like, do you know who I am, and thinking that you're a big deal, I think is so unfruitful, because, and my thing is like, do you know that like we can walk down the road and we can ask somebody who you are and they wouldn't know who you are? Even if you are like so big and so hectic, they wouldn't know, right?
There was a boy in my class who didn't know Beyonce.
Exactly.
Why don't you know Beyonce?
It's like, how dare you? You know? Yes. But that's the reality of life. And I think anybody that is in their purpose understands that we are not saying we want to reach the numbers because we want to be famous. We are saying that we want to reach the numbers because that's how we measure impact. That's how we measure that 100,000 people means I have touched 100,000 people. And out of those people, maybe only 100 are going to change their lives. But if I had only spoken to 100, maybe 5 would have. Right? And that's doing an injustice to the gifts and my purpose. But you realize that you're not a big deal. Like, does Oprah Winfrey know about you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
sitting in a room, you know, with the board of directors. Like,
it's like, okay, thanks, good for you. But again, it boils back to, you know, everybody wants to be seen. All right? Everybody wants to be seen. And a lot of young people, especially now in the day and age of social media, I mean, I saw Pume was like on IG Live and just like talking to people. that on its own and having people giving you feedback is you're seeking validation. You are saying, oh guys, they're going, everybody's like, oh my God, we hear you. Like, oh my gosh, we understand you, right? Everybody wants that feeling. But the more that they get it, it can be easy for them, especially if they're not tuned into the actual purpose, it becomes easy for them to be complacent. To say, I only have 10,000 followers and people join my lives. You're right, people know who I am. You know, but it's like, maybe that's like only the drop in the water of what your purpose is meant to be.
And I think it goes back to the sense of self that you were speaking about.
Completely.
That you can only know your purpose and the impact you're looking to make when you've sat down with yourself and asked, Mara, why am I here and what do I have to offer? So I think even in what you were saying about serving and going into different spaces, whether you're carrying the cables or you're shining the windows, I think what's important is that even while you're carrying the cables, you think at the back of your head, I'm carrying the papers or the cables to this end. This is the direction that I'm going in. There's a bigger picture behind it. But then my question becomes, when do I draw the line when it comes to serving? Because you get people who are just here to take.
That's a good question.
Do you understand? So I'll be thinking I'm going to be mentored by this person. I'm pouring into their business. They're this, they're that. I'm availing the skills that I have. But when do I see, this is not someone who wants to give back to me. They're just here to take and exploit.
Yeah, shucks, that's a very interesting question and rather complex. And I always say that whenever I engage with people and I answer questions, I always say there are two perspectives. There's the realistic perspective and there's the idealistic perspective, right? In the ideal world, nobody must take advantage of anybody else. Like all the good, amazing things that we all wish for. And then there's the realistic world, which is that is a case and that actually happens. So how do you navigate that realistically, right? My thing is, the more you grow, you're bound to outgrow anything. Right? You're bound to grow beyond that. If you go carrying cables, but 3 months come, you're still carrying cables, we can't trust you with a laptop, we can't trust you with a camera. You have kept it complacency. So therefore, because now you've become our cable carrier, you are not moving. We are going to keep you there. And sometimes it's not because we want to, but it's because that's a function you're serving the most. But if you start carrying this and you start doing that and you start doing that and you start doing this, we can even subconsciously bit by bit start seeing you moving forward, right? Let's go back to the example I gave you with my mentor. I could have walked into that job and did what I was supposed to do and sat down, but I didn't. Every time I had calls with him, I constantly spoke about what we could be doing better. We were in the process of building a new restaurant, like doing so many amazing things. And people get to see your potential when you fully invest yourself into it. Serving is not, I'm here and I'm doing it. It's, I'm here, I'm doing it, I'm invested, and I am getting better, right? So today you're doing cables, but tomorrow while you're doing cables, you realize, the focus of this camera and the focus of this camera are not the same. You know, and you tell somebody, and while they fix it, you say, please teach me how I can do that. So, and then next time, Jabu gets sick or he can't come in, he knows that, right? Because you know. But if you just keep at cables only. So as you serve, I think you need to be open-minded to what is the end result of the servitude that you want. And so once you're done serving, you're going home to do research. You're going home to study lighting. You're going home to study camera settings. You're going home to study, colors for sets. You're going home to study. So that when you come back and the team are conversing about those things, you can give an input.
That's good.
So by you inputting now, they're saying, okay. Also, you know how to do this. Okay, I need to go grab lunch. We've been shooting the whole day. I'm tired. Can you handle that? That's how you grow.
And you know what's crazy? I'm smiling because I relate to what you're saying so much. You know, because in one of my jobs, I'm not going to mention which.
She said I'm not going to mention.
It's a huge production, so I can't do that. So I was just an usher at the time. You know, just like directing people where to and what to go and stuff like that. So there was a time where I saw the floor plan of because we were shooting live that day, and I was like, this floor plan is messed up. You know, it's a disaster. If this camera does this, it's not going to work out. So it took a lot of courage for me to do that, to call the head director. I'm an usher, bear in mind. Do you understand?
Just the girl.
I'm just a girl. So I was like, you know what? I summoned him. I was like, listen, I need to have a conversation with you about this floor plan. He was like, okay. And I explained the whole thing. He took a moment. He took the thing. He's like, who did this floor plan? I was just like, oh my God. You know, and after that show, it was a success. They had to fix everything. You know, we had a meeting and he was like, thank you to Azande. I didn't even know that he knew my name, you know. And then after that, I was doing, directing the interviews behind the scenes. I was in the logging room now. I was editing, you know. So I'm like, I definitely really agree with what you're saying. You also have to like show up for yourself, you know.
Because in that moment, you could have just said, I'm an usher.
Yes.
Like, this is not my business.
Yes.
I'm just here to usher, so maybe they know better, and then you just leave it at that. And that's what a lot of people do. And it's also just like a mindset thing, right? It's like, and sometimes like I don't want to step on anyone's toes, so let me just leave it alone. So there also has to be around courage, but also you looked at that because you had spent time mentally figuring out how this thing works. You are not you're focused on being an usher, but you're focused on the elements that make the ushering work well, which is the floor plan that you were looking at essentially, because you are guiding people to, you know, whatever it is that you guys are doing. So it's very important to not be closed-minded, but that is such a
true. And I think people just need to keep in mind that more than anything, you're showing up for yourself.
Exactly.
You know, because the goal is big.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think, but that's also where the problem is. Yeah, we know how to shop for other people and not for ourselves.
100%.
As well. Like if it's for someone else, you're going to go hard. But if it's for you, because you don't see self yet, you're struggling with a lot of validation, it even becomes harder because you're like, Bazo to this Asha talks a lot.
Yes.
And this Asha takes people in trouble.
And I think when I look at your character, Mpume, now that you've mentioned the whole conversation on value, there's so much that you could have done differently in terms of wanting K-Mat as a mentor, for example. You could have offered to be her makeup artist. You, ma'am, are going to give us all the time.
Come on.
Mentality that I'm also a big deal. What I don't
you
need
know
to.
who I am?
Oh my God, who are you? You know, so I think so. I think you also need to be willing to work. You know, so that your work can talk for itself.
Yeah. And that mentality of like, do you know who I am, and thinking that you're a big deal, I think is so unfruitful, because, and my thing is like, do you know that like we can walk down the road and we can ask somebody who you are and they wouldn't know who you are?
Real.
Even if you are like so big and so hectic, they wouldn't know, right?
There was a boy in my class who didn't know Beyonce.
Exactly.
Two very emotional clips. I think the first one where Grace is saying to her, Wena, you are the one.
Yeah.
For me, as much as that's an external person saying things to her and you are the reason why people are dying now and failures and this and that, I think that's a track that plays in our heads for ourselves when we're experiencing failure. That it's your fault, you did this. And sometimes the negative self-talk goes to another level. And then the second clip, what was the second clip again?
It's also like with my mom. So at my mother's boyfriend, Archie, is the one that provides makeup for me. So the stock that he got me is like fake stock. So it's the one that's ruining people's faces.
And then you don't have her support. She's not looking at the fact that your business reputation has been tarnished, but that you are taking her with sugar Ben 10 baby boyfriend thing that's going on there on the side. And it goes back to the story you were sharing about how as young black girls, where we come from, we're part of a new generation where the generation before us didn't have the opportunities that we have. And sometimes you find parents are projecting their version of success onto you. They want you to achieve it. But then you go through that path and you realize, but this doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't resonate with what I feel like I've been called to do. And I loved your story so much because it sounds like my personal story and my journey with failure. And I want to ask you about your journey with failure as well. But for me, in 2021, I was studying engineering. So let's take it back to high school.
Okay.
High school. I'm a robotics prodigy.
Oh my gosh.
Part of the South African robotics team. We go overseas, we kill it, we break the world record, we come back, we're in Forbes Africa. There's a whole lot of fuss about the only black girl in the team and the only girl in the team and how she's gonna be the engineer of the nation, you know? And as I'm being this engineer of the nation in my third year, I don't feel fulfilled in all of this. It's great because I'm shaking ministers' hands and being invited to all these important lunches, but I don't feel like I'm being seen for who I am and the value that I bring to the world. And I also did a 30-day fast, but on my fast, I had switched off social media. So I had no contact with anyone. It was during COVID times, so I really was by myself.
And then you're the one that sings. And you said, I'm going to sing.
I'm
Just
so
by
sorry.
them.
I'm so sorry. And we were doing so well. Yes, we didn't even sing once. So I'm all by myself. I'm dealing with my thoughts. And I come to the realization that if my life had to end tomorrow, I would have given nothing of myself to the world. And then I make the decision to say, all right, I'm going to leave this one, start a new one, and go into marketing because that's what sets my heart on fire. But through that process, I still had to deal with the negative self-talk of, but you are a failure. You didn't meet society's expectations. You were now put on Forbes. You are supposed to be the future of Africa. You've let Africa down.
Yeah.
You've let Africa down. You know. So how does one navigate the negative self-talk when you're dealing with, say, failure?
Sure. You know, I've always thought I had like the right terms to use when we talk about failure and navigating negative thought until I recently, and by recent I mean a few days ago, finished reading a book called by by a gentleman called Banele Reo, South African. It's called Nomaini. And in this book, what he talks about, he differentiates the difference between the brain and the mind.
Okay.
And he's got this term I love, and he says your brain is out to kill you. Your brain is out to keep you in survival mode. So when the alarm rings at 5 a.m. and you're trying to wake up, the brain says, we have to sleep. Yeah. Right? When you have to do the hard things, your brain says, oh no. Yeah. And any like inconvenience, the brain's like, we gotta run, this is not gonna work. But the mind is something you can train. Right? And the more you train your mind, the more you become I was gonna say fortified. But you get you get very strong. And I'll give an example, right? My husband watches UFC. I can't stand UFC because no, it's not boxing. It's like it's fighting.
Give violence.
Yes. I want lots of violence. But like they are whipping each other. Like it's like the blood comes out. It's like it's hectic, right? And I keep asking myself, why do they what's the sport? And why do they keep going back to get like knocked out? Yeah. But knocked out, I mean like face, like the works, right? And then you realize that this person has trained their mind.
That's
to actually realize where the pain of the beating is not what they're after. It's the pain of losing the match. So even if you've been beaten so much and then you win the match, you've won. So like they get to do a speech, but like their mouth and they're like, whatever. I make this point to say that you need to start developing a different relationship with what we call failure, right? Somebody once asked me this, and years ago, and I was like, oh, this is such an interesting word. And they say to me, like, you do so many things, and you're always so punchy. Like, are you never scared? Like, what if this thing doesn't work out? And my response to this person, I say to her, I think fear exists in all of us. Yeah. I am afraid every single day. Before I come here, I'm just like, oh my God, what is it going to look like? Before I do anything, there's a level of fear that's there. But what I've learned to do is to redirect my fear. I've realized it's not going to go away, but I need to put it in the productive thing. So instead of being scared of showing up, I am more scared of regretting not having shown up. Yeah. So I'm scared of regrets than I am of doing the action. So let me jump, and after I've jumped and be like, okay. That wasn't great. Yeah. But I have jumped. But if I don't jump, that fear eats me up more than having jumped in the first place. So I think it's just redirecting the energy to something else. In the same book I'm telling you about, there's an analogy of addiction, drug addiction. And this author talks about how, and he showcases different characteristics of people that are addicted to substances. And the whole point is to say that we are all addicted to something. And in most of us, it's not a substance, it's negative thoughts. From childhood, it is self-talk that's low, it's low confidence, it's validation, it's hiding away and all those things. And just like people who would be struggling with the substance abuse, and they will do anything to feed their addiction. That's what we also do. We will do anything to feed the self-doubt. We will do everything to feed all of those negative emotions that we constantly feel because we've made them feel like home. So I think it goes back to the sense of self for me. It's like once you get, you know yourself as a person, I think you need to go through that journey and realize that every time I have to do this is the feeling that comes up. So therefore I need to train my mind that, hey, we're safe. Yeah. It's not bad. And you start laughing at, Alex Amo is one of my greatest mentors. Says
Love
to me,
him.
Listen, I have to bring him to South Africa.
He makes me feel like I'm a toxic workaholic because he's always like, just get up.
Just
get up and do the work.
He's amazing. But he says this. He says, how long does it take for something that was once embarrassing and hard for it to be funny? Not too long. Not too long. If you remember like something that you did that was so embarrassing or that was like so hard, after a while it becomes funny because it's like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
This is where I started.
This is where I started. I can't believe I was scared of that. And that's what life's about. It's like just have a different relationship with failure.
True. I definitely agree with that. I think like we've had this conversation before. I was just saying, just don't give up.
Yeah.
You know, just, I mean, obviously life will throw a couple of
Knock
tests.
you down.
Do you know what I mean? But like, get up, you know, and I always say that you will not achieve anything by quitting. The only guarantee you'll have is that you don't achieve that thing. But if you keep trying, you don't know when you'll get it eventually.
Guys, can
So,
I just
yeah.
say,
I mean,
Oprah doesn't have children, eh? At Luna. We the daughters of Oprah. Daughters of Oprah. I hope whoever makes quotes out there is listening to you and quoting you, because I'm just sitting here, I'm too stunned to even speak. I'm too stunned to ask questions. But I think, okay, we're talking about failure, fine. But I low-key want to track back to the mentorship thing, because you said something about Alex Hormozi.
Yeah.
You said he's one of your greatest mentors.
Yeah.
I know you don't have his phone number. I know you've never spoken to that man.
No.
How is Alex Hormozi your mentor? Because I think that's something that people need to hear.
Powerful. So I always say to my husband, I think I'm in the school of Alex Hormozi, because I love what he stands for and I consume almost everything he releases. But not only just consuming it, I study how he does business. I study even the things that he doesn't say, together with Layla. And so for me, it's like that is a form of mentorship. Like literally, this podcast, if you watch it long enough, and not just watch it and say, oh, great conversation, and then move on, but like sit down and reflect in your own life and say, what were those
Where's
ladies?
my sense of self?
Exactly. You know, that.
right? And this is the point why we do these things, you know?
Absolutely. And modern day internet has made it easy for people to have
Mentors. Thank you, Michelle.
Right? I'm going to have his number one day.
I love you.
I am going to have his number. I'm going to have his number. But before we do, but you also understand that because I'm consuming, so the day I meet him, we're going to click.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
My thing with you is that you work so hard and it's evident in everything that you do. But I think the spaces that you've been in, I don't know how to put this in English. I'm putting off script, but you need to hear this. Okay. What I'm saying right now, English, I pray you come to me.
You got this.
Is that you started off in one space. And I think as you move into bigger spaces and you're met with more responsibility, you kind of realize that nothing is out of reach.
Yes.
In 2022, when your face is in this big in California, you then realize that, oh, okay, it's not that hard. I can actually tap into this market. And I think literally I have the same thought about people that I see online that like, one day and not from a place of, oh, one day he's going to be my friend, but because you know your work ethic matches your ambition, which matches the kind of person that you're trying to surround yourself with.
Can I tell you something? Every single person that I've looked up to for years, that I've seen online and be like, oh, I think this person I would be good friends. I'm friends with now.
That's the real tea. That's the real tea right there.
I'm friends with, like, I literally would see them on TV and just like, oh, this person is this and this. I'm friends with now. I have their numbers now. And you realize that sometimes those nudges are not, like even this Alex thing, it's not just a nudge because, oh, I like him so much. It's a nudge because I know where I'm going. We inevitably going to cross paths, right? And when we do, I want him to be my friend.
Yes. And he will.
You know, he will be.
Yeah.
And I think I've heard a quote somewhere where they say, if you're envious of someone or you're jealous, it's literally because there's something that you're supposed to do and you're capable of doing that's in that same area, but when you are not doing it. You are slacking. And let's just go back onto the conversation. But his wife, Layla Hormozi, had a similar video that she released where she was like, you don't need mentors. And she details, you should go watch that video. She details the video that you don't need a physical person to be your mentor. Sometimes it's just people that you watch online, learn from their lives, study them. And I think that's why reading books is such a helpful thing. Having autobiographies where you can hear the story of, this is why, Bonang, guys, can somebody please re-release that from A to B book? It had problems and regulations. But I think there's so much value that people can learn from seeing how this broadcaster that's so revered today started and what her failures looked like and how she navigated all of those different things.
My thing is also that we're in such a day and age where we are consumers only, but not learners. And that's a problem, right? Every time I do any piece of content, I'm always saying to the people in our communities, bring a notebook and a notepad. It's not enough that you've heard. Because even for me, after I've heard something, my toddler runs to me, I need to play a ram sam sam, listen, I've forgotten, right? Yes, it will come to mind, but if I apply my mind to what I've just heard, it means something differently. So you have to be intentional about your consumption. Otherwise, it's just passing through, and then there's no mentorship. So that's why you don't see the value, because you want to sit with Alex on the same table and you want to write notes while he's speaking, but it's like he's got all of this content that's coming out there. And sometimes people that approach like in DMs wanting mentorship, I can guarantee you have not even consumed any of the content that you
Or are
you
putting
put
in the
out.
work.
Yes. So it's like, oh, Michelle, please help me start a business. It's like, I think I have like 20 videos on how to start a business. I give you so many strategies. You can just go on YouTube. But you realize that maybe it's not mentorship that they want, it's proximity. Because they think that proximity is going to give them something. And it's not going to rub off, because there's no way the work I've done over the next 10, 15 years is going to rub off you because we've had coffee. You know, so that's, just apply yourself intentionally to whatever you consume.
And I want to know, how do you then center yourself in those situations? Because I think similar to you, when I went through the whole Miss SA journey, at some point of being in the competition, and I was in 2023, that was my year. And in 2020, guys, I was rooting for Natasha to win Miss Universe. But now she's somebody who I'm competing with for the crown. Does that make sense? And every single time I found myself having to kind of center myself and say, you are not watching a television. You are in this thing. It's time to work. So how do you center yourself when you finally find yourself in the spaces that you've dreamed of being in?
Sure. I think it comes with experience over time, but also it goes back to the sense of self, right? I know myself fully. I think there's a level of self-awareness I have. I know where I am. I know where I want to be. I know where I'm going to get. So I'm in no hurry for these 3 different scenarios of my life. And I think sometimes when we don't center ourselves, as we walk into a room and we see other people, we're like, like, why are they getting preferential treatment? And now you're trying to be someone that you're not, because you've kind of mixed these 3 of like where you are, where you want to be, and where you're going to be. So I think for me, it's just about that, and walking into every room with intentionality, and seeing people as people, not because of their titles or because of like what they've accomplished or who they are, but just being able to see a person as a person. Like, I see you, you see me, and that's it. Like, whether or not you've accomplished all these amazing things, that's your like accomplishment, you know, but I appreciate the fact that you're a person. But also to, you know, I'm going to be like your spiritual sister here.
Take us to church.
Come on. And say that part of the centering in my experience, and what I also advocate for, is being a person of faith, right? I think there's a certain level of calmness that you have when you walk into rooms and you know that God is moving with you and that your path is already laid out. Like, I don't need to impress anyone, but I don't need to be rude or be funny to anyone. I just need to be myself. And me being myself and trusting that the Lord will lead me to what I need to do is going to get me where the Lord has shown me. So for me, that's a very big thing. It's like I just walk into a space and I'll just say, Holy Spirit, lead me. If the Lord leads me to like speak to somebody or have another conversation, then fine, I've been led to do that. But I'm not going to walk in and like, today do you know? I've been on a billboard in California at the SoFi Stadium. Did you understand? I'm an intern. I'm like, how come they don't know who I am? You know? So it's things like that that get people derailed off. But just realizing that your path is laid out for you, and someone else shining or thriving or takes away nothing from what belongs to you. It's great that they do, and if you want to shine and be loud, I'll cheer for that, you know, but that's not who I am, and I will keep to who I am. So I think being a person of faith becomes very important.
And I think you'll never go wrong with investing in yourself.
Yes.
You'll never go wrong.
Absolutely.
So, like, I always tell people, invest in yourself, because once you are like so aware of self and centered, nothing shakes you.
Yeah.
It says you, Mpume.
I mean,
I'm
this is
listening to
Azande.
I'm like, where was that? Where was all of that wisdom?
I mean, she was trying. And I like, what I appreciate about Mpume is that, you know what, as much as like maybe she wasn't like aware of self, but she didn't stop. Like, she kept on trying. She was like, okay, this is not working with Ronald. I'm going to try this. This is not working, which goes back to don't stop, just keep trying. And eventually she did get a good mentor, which is Yvette, you know? So, yeah.
And that's how you find self, right? It's like you just keep going and you just keep trying. That's why it's like in the beginning you were at the precipice. So you like literally at the corner of the hill, and you literally one move away from making it, right? But you can't stop. You have to keep moving until something eventually happens. And it's that keep going that will eventually lead you to self. It'll lead you to your right tribe, to the right people. So you learn. How are you going to know when somebody's trying to exploit you later if you haven't encountered it before? You know, now you're going to learn when you've got 1 million followers and you're now
is that how you
DJing
wanna
all
fall?
over the world. No, you'd rather fall now. You'd rather make all the mistakes now. Like as you are young and growing. So that when you're older, you learn how to stand and walk.
And speaking of Bume eventually getting like a good mentor, how would you decipher from a good and a bad mentor? For someone who doesn't know out there, what would you tell people to be on the lookout for?
Oh, that's a very tough question. Somebody said, I'm paraphrasing, but they said that if you want to hate someone you admire, be close to them.
Hey.
Yeah.
No, but it'd be like that.
Yes. Because
like that.
sometimes when we are looking at people we admire, right? They're so amazing. She looks put together. She looks great. She's so articulate. She's like, oh my God, I want to work with her and I want to spend time with her. And then you do. And then you realize, oh, she's grumpy in the mornings. And then you realize, oh
And
my
she
God.
farts the whole day.
Yes.
Why does she
And
fart?
maybe she's not the most organized person on the planet. Or why did she speak to that person like that? Oh, I didn't expect her to. You know, and then because you saw them at this level, your expectation starts going a little bit. And sometimes because of that, you can easily say, oh, this person's not a great mentor. Because maybe they're just not a great person. The character's not right. So I think for me, I've met people that I really admired. And when I came up close, I was like, interesting.
Nice. Thank you.
Like, interesting.
Thank you very
But
much.
I didn't run away from them. But for me, it was knowing, what do I want to learn from this person, right? And with everybody, there's like, what do I not want to learn? Now that I've gotten to know them this close, maybe this part, I don't want to learn it. But also, like I said earlier, seeing them as a person, right? Sometimes when we see mentors, we idolize them and we put them on a pedestal. And now that you're there, you're expecting like them early in the morning to be great, to be amazing, to be laughing and kind as they are on Instagram. And you realize that life hits them, you know? And you meet them the day they just had a fight with their husband at home and they're not the greatest or the kindest person on the planet. So I think for me, it's just about know what you're trying to extract from the relationship. You're not trying to be a family member. You're not trying to be a best friend, right? You're trying to extract a skill. So it's even in your workplace. If you have a boss, you know this person's not perfect. You're like, yo, and you know when like staff members talk amongst themselves, they're like, yo,
Papa how?
Mama how? Don't, right? But you know that there are certain things from a work perspective when he gives or he or she gives you direction, you listen to and you trust. But there are certain areas you're like, if I'm late, also shout. If I'm right, those are small little character flaws. So you look at them like that as a person. Like, this is a human being. They're flawed, but it takes growth and it's a bit hard, especially if you've looked at the person from the lens of all the accomplishments. And you're like, I can't believe she's yelling. Or like, I can't believe she's like so rude. It's like, maybe there's context, you know, and because people are easily judgmental. It's like, maybe she's having a bad season. Maybe it's a bad day, like a terrible day. Maybe she just lost some money or something's not going okay, but we don't think like that.
There's a lot right there, man. There's a lot right there. But it's such a difficult thing. I think when I look at Mpume and I look at Grace and all the different characters, every single person has got their special flair. Some people are cut out for entrepreneurship. Other people are not so much. I just don't know. Like, do you really believe that everybody's not cut out for entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I don't think it's for everyone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think it's for
really?
everyone.
Really?
What do you think it's for everyone?
But
I think everybody can do it.
no, but think about this. If everybody can be an entrepreneur, then who's going to work for us?
Ne?
Do you get what I'm saying?
I need someone to work for me.
Yes,
That is true.
But also not even from a pompous point of view. It's from a skill
From
point
a
of
help.
view. Yes.
I can't accomplish this big thing
Yes.
alone.
Like, it's like there are certain people who are just so good with admin and structure.
True.
It's like, man, I would never be able to like put my calendar out and everything out the way that you do. You know, so And I think maybe looking at it, when we say entrepreneur, like business owner, people think, oh, we are like excluding ourselves. I think we have to look at it from like a skills value, that you can be entrepreneurial within your skill. You can take ownership within your skill, improve it, get better, and offer it as a service to other people, whether it's in a term of full-time employment or it's in a way of you building your own thing. But you can be entrepreneurial either or. What is important is you've got a skill to give into the marketplace, and you need to be able to give it to the best ability.
Everyone is an entrepreneur, guys. She's like,
Technically.
but others just take more risk than other people.
Yes.
You know, being an entrepreneur, right? Like, you know, I was saying to my husband the other day, like, are we sure? Like,
Is this real for me? I'm gonna
like, you know, but you realize that it's innate. There are people who go to work every day, they come back home, they earn a good salary, and they're happy
With that.
and they're fine. And then there are people who, no matter how much money you give them in an environment like that, they'll never be happy because that's not part of who they are. So maybe it's sort of, it's, yeah, maybe it's sort of like everybody's fit for entrepreneurship. It's like, I think we're all called to different things. And that is important.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're called for, it is important. You can be entrepreneurial in the workplace and lead and do amazing things. You know?
Also because they work so well together. I don't think the other one would be able to exist without the other.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do half the things I do if I didn't have the whole team behind me.
Yeah.
You know, but that team is necessary, and
Shout
they
out to the
are.
team.
Yeah. Oh, shout out
Takes
to my
a village.
team.
Shout out
to the
Yo.
team.
So you look at it like that. Everybody has a skill and value to give.
Yeah,
Yeah,
our guy over there, TK, was like, "You guys always talk about these things. What about me? I'm also a star."
Shout out to TK.
Sorry to everybody else who was not mentioned. But we will not call their names. But I want to take you back to your corporate days, or your
Yeah.
like worker-bee days.
Yeah.
What makes a great CV?
Yes.
If that's where I want to go, like maybe now, I'm 20. How old am I? 25.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm gonna go get a JAP. I'm
And it's
gonna get a
we were
job.
having this conversation last week that you've never had to do a CV before.
Yeah. I just had to show up and
so
say,
this is really
"What's up,
gonna
guys?"
be-
It's me.
Yeah.
So this might be useful for like a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people out there.
I'm
not
really,
even
I'm
I.
asking
Yeah.
for myself,
Yes.
you know?
The powerful thing about building a brand, and this is so recent for me,
Washa.
is that you get offered jobs without even having to bring a CV
yeah.
because people have seen your work out
Yes.
there, right? How do you build a CV in this day and age? That's interesting. I think for me, beyond building a CV, build a track record. Right? A CV is a piece of paper that anybody can lie on. Like, you could do a CV and say, Michelle was my boss, and then tip me, and I will vouch for you and say you worked at my company for 8 years. You know, all of those things. Anybody can put a CV. But I think what is important these days is a track record, and a track record, i.e., is a brand.
Yeah.
Build a brand.
I was hoping you were gonna say that. I was
Yeah.
like, please talk about a personal brand.
Build a brand. So if you are in a professional sector, you're in accounting, you're whatever it is, go on LinkedIn. So if you're, let's say, an intern, whatever initiative and work that you're doing, post it on LinkedIn. Because the day you submit your CV, what HR does is they go on LinkedIn and look for you. But they must be able to see that, 2 years ago, she actually did this. A year and a half ago, this is what she was part of. 3 months ago, she actually won this award at her workplace. So you are building a feed.
Yeah.
For instance, to tell people what it is that you do. So I think that's the best way to build a CV lately. It's like the paper, everybody's lying on paper. Everybody's lying on paper, but records don't lie on social media because we can see when you started the account. We can see the things you posted then, and we can see what you've put out there.
Today on LinkedIn, I'm gonna post, I brothed Michelle's air.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be my new flex. It's gonna be my new humble flex. I'm curious though, like
Yeah.
as a content, well, you're not a content creator. I do.
Content is a
podcast
function of the work that I do.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, but for those who are outside of that
Yeah.
and are content creators and that's their business, would you say LinkedIn is a real thing?
It depends what content you're creating and who's your client, right? So with content, two things people need to, and some of the biggest content creators in the country are actually my clients, by the way.
No, we know, man.
Yeah, so
we
it's
know
just,
that.
you know. The big thing to realize is you need to determine who your client is based on your niche, right? So when you determine who your client is, I always say to people, in hindsight, your audience are your clients because that is essentially what the brand is paying for.
Yes.
If it was just you with 0 followers, no brand would pay. But if it was you with 20,000 followers, the brand would pay because the brand wants to access those people, right? And you cultivate those people based on a similar interest or similar topic and etc. So for instance, if you are in, let's say skincare, right? And that's something that you want to do as a content creator. There are different levels of influence you experience as a content creator. So number one is you're just trying to show your expertise. Number two, after you show your expertise, you're trying to build community. So you've built community, now you've got the people. And after you've got the people, now the third thing is you're trying to give the people something. So is it advice? Is it resources? Is it what are you giving them? Because if you just build community and you're not giving anything, they're not going to receive, or they're not going to stay longer, right? So after you've given them something, you see, okay, this is something that they need. The fourth one, then you productize. So productizing could come in different terms. So maybe you've just been talking about skincare, but now you want to develop your own product, right? Now we're getting into the real business of your audience. Now you are the one that is using your own audience to make money. Then you go on LinkedIn. Because now you're saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what I have to offer. And then you start tearing out different services that you can give that other corporates can plug into. For instance, now you've opened this, let's say, boutique or the skincare company. You can say, I give skincare lessons or skincare this, I do skincare prep, whatever. Women's Month is always big for that. Corporates want to bring people like that into the space. And it's also now a way for you to build your digital CV from a professional perspective. To say, this is where I am and this is the work that I do. Even like as a makeup artist, you can even go on LinkedIn. Just like share the people that you are doing their makeup. Especially if you say, I want to focus on thought leaders in the business world. You know, I want to focus on those. So if I do, for instance, Michelle's makeup, I'm going to post on LinkedIn and tag her because I know she's active there. And her community will be able to book me. Do you get what I'm saying? So I always say, go to where your client is. But you have to first determine who your client is at that specific time, because especially in the content game, sometimes your client does change depending on how far you're growing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the author of the CEO Blueprint. That was a masterclass in 10 seconds.
Literally.
So let me say this, right? The CEO Blueprint is, and you know, a lot of people have gotten that and they're just like, oh my God, this is like, so CEO Blueprint is like, it's a workbook. That's what it is. And I did minimum, when I say minimum, I think I wrote, wasn't even 15 pages. But the rest is templates that are literally out there that you can fill in to literally help you if you want to do email marketing, if that's your vibe, if you want to post content. What are the pillars of the content that you need to be aware of and cultivate so that the content can translate? Because ultimately, we're going to frustrate ourselves, and our parents want us to study amazing things if we are constantly bringing up ring lights, but there's no money coming.
Screaming.
So, so you're constantly asking money for data for 4 years. At some point, this thing needs to either start bringing in revenue, or you need to do something else. Do you get what I mean? And the only way it's going to bring revenue is if you're strategic about it. And that's basically what the CEO Blueprint is. It's then that blueprint that's going to help you own something and build something
Because
out.
you keep speaking about a niche, and I think that's something.
I was just saying that also that can differ from person to person. Because I know with Mpumi, she literally rocked up at Big Love's club and started DJing.
Yes.
She was like, I'm this girl, I'm trying to be a DJ, and this is what my sound sounds like. And Big Love was like, oh, okay, great. So sometimes, you know, it doesn't have to be traditional. You just have to show up and literally show your services.
I love that. Absolutely. It's very, very important. It's the courageous point, right? It's like
hand in hand with everything that you've mentioned, of course. Yes,
It's just go up there and do the damn job.
Just do the work. Because work needs to be done. And I think strategy is such a big part of everything that you do when it comes to economic empowerment and wanting to start a business for yourself and be that boss babe. And the word you kept mentioning was the word niche, right? First, I want you to explain what niche is for those who don't know what it is. But second, I really want to speak to Mpume, the character on the show, who really had no niche. That baby was doing makeup today, tomorrow.
Nama was confused.
She was selling
weaves. You
DJ.
know,
can someone get Mpume to call me?
but she's also someone who clearly has influence because when she goes on the Instagram live,
People
the numbers
support
are
that.
all the way up. So how does strategy and then bringing in that niche, how can that
work hand in hand?
Like work hand in hand. Okay, so let's talk about niching, because niching used to be such a hot topic, and it continues to be because a lot of people have like a lot of different
now
ideas.
they want to divorce it.
Yeah, it's like now they want now it's like pick a niche, and then it's like no, don't pick a niche, do everything. And I always say niche to make it like so simple is answering the question utumengan. That's a niche. Yeah. Like
in English, Barry, you are doing what?
Yeah, like
I don't know. I don't know how to translate.
Like
that.
what are you known for?
What is doing you?
Yeah. You know, what are you known for? What's your thing, right? If we were just in a speed networking session and I said, Mpume, what do you do? Don't bring a paragraph. I don't have time. I don't know you. I'm not gonna listen. Tell me one thing. I'm in construction, sharp.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? I'm in baking, sharp.
Sharp.
I'm a DJ, sharp. That's what your niche
What,
is.
what do they call it? A 20-second elevator pitch?
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
the 30
Yeah,
second
30 yeah.
elevator pitch. So it's that. It's utumengani. That's what do you specialize in? What is your thing, right? And I know a lot of people will say, oh, we can do everything. And I think that's great. But for you to eventually productize and make money,
Real.
I want to buy from somebody I can trust specializes
Yes.
in this thing. I don't want someone who's in construction, bakes, but also does makeup. Because what are you doing?
That's real.
Right? Yeah. It's like where I don't feel safe, right? And that's at the core of people spending money is we spend money with people that we feel very safe with. So utumengani, what is the thing that you actually do? Now, what a lot of people then mistaken as far as the niche is concerned is they feel that they have to pick only one thing. And that's not how a niche works, right? I'll give you another framework.
Masterclass.
For free.
Masterclass.
Okay? For free.
Yeah.
That's not how niching works. And I always give this example, right? I'll give you your and don't mention the name of this brand, right?
Okay.
But every time you think chicken, are we thinking about the same brand? You talk a lot about this brand on Instagram.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yes.
It's in my bag right now.
Yes, right? But at the same time, that same brand can give you burgers,
Yes.
right? Can also give you like other the things, like a soft drink
Sauce,
if you want.
Sauce.
Yeah.
Sauce.
It can also specializes in sauce, right? But it's one business known for one thing, right?
Yeah.
Every business, and if you look at the different businesses that we interact with, they usually start being for something. For instance, like the phone people that we like. If you don't have that phone, you haven't made it yet.
Are you a
right?
peasant?
Do you know what I mean? Right?
Why is your
But
phone a
they
banana?
they have earphones.
Yeah.
They have laptops.
Yeah.
They now have tracking things that we must put in on our kids' school bags. You know, they're now tapping into different
They have
markets.
watches and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're still niched, and they've always been, right? So what you need to ask yourself is, what is going to be your primary thing that you are known for, right? The primary thing that you're known for is the thing that you can talk about immediately when you arrive in the midst of people and they say, what do you do? And you say this one thing. Because even if you've got others, this one thing should ideally lead on to these others. For instance, if fitness is your thing, but you also like mental health, but you also like cooking, but you also like motherhood, do you see how these things can tie together?
Yeah.
But you can't introduce yourself with the four. When we say, then you must say, I'm in fitness. And you say, oh, good. Because then the next question might be, why fitness? What do you like? And then you can tap into, oh, it helps my mental health.
Yeah.
Right? And part of it is I take care of myself and my nutrition, and I become a better mother. So do you see how you fit these three things that you are equally interested in into the one thing?
Washa masterclass.
So, how you determine this one thing is you have to ask yourself, what is the thing that people currently care about right now? Right?
The pain point.
Yes, what is the pain points that exist amongst these four things I care about? Once you realize these four things that say, this is the four, what do I choose? You pick one and you say, cool, that's going to be what I'm going to put up. Right? It's the name of the brand we're talking about has chicken in it. Because they know that if they said, hey, beggars, they said chicken, beggars, and soft drinks. It's like, okay, what are we coming to you for? Are you a supermarket? What are you? But how you separate yourself from the market?
Like, are you a supermarket?
Yeah, it's like which, you know? So you have to differentiate yourself in a way that is so clear to your market so people can buy for you. But inevitably, we will be interested in other things that you do anyway because we've fallen in love with that one thing, right? So that's it. So everybody is always interested in a lot of things. Just pick one. And pick the one that people care about the most right now. By right now, I mean now people might care about phones only. And then you'll do laptops next year. And then you do earphones that other year. Do you get what I'm saying? Because now you are building a brand. So you pick a niche to build a brand. And as you build the brand, which is something we spoke about earlier, you can then start offering different products, but the brand is stable. So people want to offer too many products without a brand, so you're not building a brand. You have to offer one brand with specifically niched in the beginning, and then we start adding more products as we go. But the brand is standing, right? So even if the chicken place starts saying we're going to do kotas now with chicken, there's still the chicken place.
Hey, we're gonna love those quarters. Please make the quarters.
But it doesn't. We're not gonna get confused.
Yes.
Because they've established themselves in the market as the chicken people, right? And that's basically it. I hope I answered you.
Oh. Yes. Oprah. Okay. Oprah. I don't think you know what you have done here today. I don't think you know what you've done today. But
Oh my God.
For me, it's the mental fortitude that has to come with everything that you've said now. Because you're talking about how building a brand, first you have to establish thought leadership, and then only you can start diversifying and going into different places. Do it in year 1, then 2, then 3. It's a long game. How do I maintain a can-do attitude in that long game? Because sometimes, hey, Baba, like you are fighting, you are trying, you are doing, like Mpume is doing. And then you find yourself exhausted because it's like the relevant people aren't giving me the opportunities or seeing me. Or
Look, I think Mpume has to go through what she's going through.
Yeah.
It's fitting.
Boring.
It's so essential. There's no strategy for long goal.
There's no strategy. Shame.
Because, and let me tell you why, right? It's so important that she goes through what she's going through because that is within the refinery process. You mentioned something so important, that in everything that she does, the common trend is influence.
Yeah.
We've mastered what Mpume's niche is. That whatever she steps into, there is going to be an influence.
True.
So how do we now merge?
Yeah.
Maybe Mpume becomes the girl that DJs but always looks hot.
Yeah.
Always looks nice, right? And then eventually she starts opening her own store selling earrings, clothes and handbags. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Weaves.
Yeah.
Weaves, exactly. Do you understand?
Yes.
We are merging the essence of Mpume into her business. But we can't start 20 years ago selling weaves, doing makeup and earrings and DJing at the same time.
True. And I think we do like see that with her like in the episodes where she starts DJing live.
Yes.
Because now she's got followers and then she'll put up a phone and then she'll DJ.
Yeah.
And then that's how also she got to engage with K-Mat, which was her favorite DJ as well. So yeah, really just using that. There was a time where she was working at a Kota place. She was there like, okay guys, so I think
So it's the essence of a specific person.
Yeah.
Right? It's and I think everybody has an essence about them. Everybody has an essence about them. And I think once you figure that out, you realize that essence will always be the driving force of anything that you do.
But Michelle, thank you. You've validated us. You've
so
courted us.
much.
Now we're going to ask ourselves, Duman. What's that? Period. We're asking ourselves these questions, but I hope you know that you are officially a mentor at JiK'iZiNTO. So how can people get in touch with you?
First of all, tell Pume to call me.
All right.
If she knows what's good for her.
Okay. Script writers of season 2.
Tell Pume. Tell Pume to call me.
I will definitely let her know.
Yes, I'm going to leave him and I'll tell Pume to call me.
I will let her know.
It's very upsetting what I'm seeing currently. Tell her to call me. How do people get in touch with me? I'm Michelle_expert, EXPERT, on all my social media platforms. I'm on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. That's how they get in touch with me. Yeah.
And you've got a podcast, obviously.
Yes, but I mean, it's for serious people like Pume.
Yeah,
who are in the business.
We're in that business. So so we've got a sales and entrepreneurship podcast that is out every week, and we really just talk to people that have built really cool stuff, and we talk about different strategies. Literally, like some of the things that I was giving you guys here, we just unpack those and what that looks like for the normal person
in Africa,
and with hopes that you're able to take that and build a strategy for yourself that works within the environment and the context of the ecosystem that you serve in.
English on a score level.
Do
Do you have any closing remarks?
Hey?
Closing
No, I just
remarks?
want to say thank you so much. You don't understand what you've done for me. For us. I'm glad. For us,
Thank you.
this was so fruitful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me,
Awesome.
guys.
And I hope that you had your notebook out and you were taking all the notes emhlabeni, because the masterclass that we have received today is out of this world. So follow her at Michelle_expert, and on Instagram it's Michelle_expert real, because there's a fake one.
Hey,
Really? Yeah. I can't even
Yes, okay.
Yes, but DiCHiPi does all that. That's exactly how you get your business running and off the ground. Make sure that you check out our previous episodes, but more importantly, that you watch the show, because it's cool, but also it's something that you can learn from. www.jiki.co.za is how you can get in touch with us. Otherwise, from me, Bobs, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you next time. Mwah.